time, we're going to call to order the meeting of April 1st, 2019. Councilmember Resendez, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready? Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Resendez.
Present.
Vice Mayor Richmond.
Here.
Mayor Velasquez.
Here.
Councilmember Spencer. Here. Councilmember Lenore.
Present.
City Manager Avera.
Here.
City Attorney Epperson.
Present.
Police Chief Westrick.
Here.
The agenda for the City of Hollister City Council regular meeting of April 1st, 2019 was posted on the bulletin board on March 27, 2019 at 6:28 p.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you very much. Tonight we have a recognition, a few proclamations. So those are going to represent Deanna and Barth here. That'd be you. That would be you. Come on over.
Really? I wasn't prepared for that. I was taking.
They didn't tell you you're going to give a whole speech tonight? This is your speech for tonight.
I thought you were gonna do it.
We're recognizing.
Did I write this?
That's not the way it works. We're recognizing someone very important in our community that has a deep love and compassion for animals and her help volunteering. So this is in recognition of a dedicated service to the people, pets, and wildlife in our community for Deanna Barth. Yeah, you could do a few words. I will give it to her.
Okay. This is new to me. So Deanna has worked all her life with animals. She was very much inspired by her mother. She started volunteering at the SPCA for Monterey County when she was 16 years old. And she's maintained a job in the veterinary medicine field since then, since 1999. In 2011, Deanna began volunteering locally with us, Wildlife Emergency Services. We're based in the Moss Landing area, but we kind of cover all over. She was quickly promoted to lead responder not long after she accepted the position on the organization's board of directors, and she's been there ever since. In 2013, when the Wildlife Center of San Benito closed its doors, Deanna stepped up her rescue efforts locally, and in 2016, she formed a separate chapter of Wildlife Emergency Services just to be out here in the San Benito County area. She responds to about 200 calls per year, 200 rescues per year from the local animal shelter, veterinary hospitals, pet stores, law enforcement agencies, and community members. Because there is no place to care for injured or orphaned wildlife locally, most of the animals are transferred to either the SPCA for Monterey County Wildlife Center or Wildlife Center of Silicon Valley. Both are about a 90-mile round trip either way. She's amazing. She has close to a full-time job at the veterinary clinic in Carmel that she goes to every day. She has a little girl and a husband who are here tonight. And somehow she manages to give back so much to the people and animals of Hollister and the surrounding area. Thank you so much.
And on behalf of the City of Hollister, we want to thank you for all you do. Congratulate you. Here you go. You can take it. Who wants to take it? You got a smile there. So you got to give a little smile.
I know.
It's okay. There you go, John.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next proclamation is for National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Come on down. Hi there, how are you?
Good.
Whereas this week celebrates perseverance and commitment that launched the victims' rights movement 37 years ago. And now, therefore, Ignacio Velasquez, Mayor of the City of Hollister, do hereby proclaim the week of April 7th through the 13th 2019 as Crime Victims' Rights Week, and express our sincere gratitude for those service providers and criminal justice professionals who are committed to improving our response to victims of crime, that they may find relevant assistance, support, justice, and peace. Thank you.
Well, thank you. On behalf of Victim Witness Assistance Program and the Office of the District Attorney, I'd like to thank you for this recognition. It is truly an honor to be a service provider to crime victims and their families during especially difficult times in their lives and situations that they face. So again, thank you for the acknowledgement.
Thank you. Our next proclamation is Walk a Mile in Her Shoes Day. Come on down. Good to see you. It's always great to see you. Whereas Walk a Mile in Her Shoes Day is intended to draw attention to the fact that rape, sexual assault, and intimate partner abuse remain serious issues in our society. And now, therefore, Ignacio Velasquez, Mayor of the City of Hollister, do hereby proclaim April 13th, 2019 to be Walk a Mile in Her Shoes Day in the City of Hollister, and commend this observation to all citizens. I'm hoping all the men out there and your sons can come out and join me and some of the other people that come out for this special event. I have my high heels being shined up now and looking really good, so I'm ready for this year's event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Velasquez and the council members. On April 13th, the Mayor's House and Community Solutions will be hosting the 7th annual Walk a Mile in Her Shoes in Hollister. And this year, the event, which is usually on the green grass, this year is going to be taking place in front of the Veterans Building. So it's a little bit moved, so if you don't see us on the grass, look for us down the street. But we'll still be downtown right here in Hollister. Our community members walk each year to show solidarity with survivors of sexual violence and to raise awareness around sexual assault and domestic violence. In San Benito County, nearly 2 out of 3, 67% of community members have witnessed domestic violence, and nearly 1 in 2, 46% know somebody impacted by sexual assault. This is not what we want for San Benito County or the City of Hollister. We as a community need to do better, and we need to ensure we raise voices of those impacted and ensure we find solutions to end sexual violence in our community. That's why Mayor's House and Community Solutions call on our community members to walk, to join a team, sponsor the event, or fund somebody else to walk if you yourself cannot walk in the shoes. And raise awareness and raise the voices of those in our community. Everyone's welcome at the event, men, women, children, families. We have all selected different prices for $10 for youth. Under 11, it's free. Males are $40 because you get shoes and a cool little shirt, so don't worry if you don't have high heels of your own. We provide them for you. All the way up to size 15. And we have wedges, because I know sometimes the pointed heels are hard. We learned that the first year, trust. So let's all get pumped up. We've got a lot of people in this audience. If all of you come out, right? It's a lot of more folks that hear this and call for and heed the call. So I hope to see everybody there. There's little brochures out there on the walkway and some up here. So walk a mile in our shoes, walkamilesanbenito.org. Register and walk. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Our last proclamation is for National Public Health Week. Hi there.
Hi, good to be back.
Good to have you back. Whereas since 1995, the American Public Health Association, through its sponsorship of National Public Health Week, has educated the public, policymakers, and public health professionals about issues important to improving the public health. And now, therefore, I, Ignacio Velasquez, Mayor of the City of Hollister, do hereby proclaim the week of April 1st through the 7th, 2019, is National Public Health Week. And the theme is creating the healthiest nation for science, for action, and for health. Thank you so much.
I'm going to give you a little sneak preview tonight of county health ranking data, which is embargoed until tomorrow, but I'm going to give you a little hint here about where we landed. I know it's county data, but it is for the city of Hollister is most of that population, so I think it's applicable. By the way, I'm Dr. Gail Newell. I'm your San Benito County Health Officer, and always willing to help and assist in any way I can. And it's been a real inspiration just to be part of the proclamations tonight. What an exciting, healthy community that we all have here. So as was mentioned, this week is National Public Health Week. It started today and goes through the 7th. And it's been observed for many years now at a national level and locally here in San Benito County as well. And as the mayor stated, not working.
There it is.
This is this week's theme, Creating the Healthiest Nation for Science, for Action, and for Health. And we have a lot of different activities this week at Public Health Services to help celebrate that. Today we had Walk with the Doc, and we had a big crowd that came out to walk with me during their lunch hour. And we walked from Public Health Services over to Hazel Hawkins Hospital and took a break and did some Q&A and then walked back. And I hope to make that a regular event. And then tomorrow is violence prevention. So we're demonstrating how we can use preventive public health methods to help curb violence. For example, the work that our opioid task force is doing using a cross-disciplinary collaborative group of community members to look at our opioid misuse problem in this community. On Wednesday, we're celebrating rural communities. We're hosting Health and Human Services Agency at our Public Health Services for a fresh salad bar instead of their usual corn dogs and fries. And we're also hosting a play date in Calaveras Park in the afternoon after school. Thursday is Technology Day, and we're going to be pushing out some Twitter messages and encouraging folks to look at our websites and teach you about some technology, some apps that are available for your phone promoting health. And Friday is a day looking at climate change, and in recognition of the impacts that climate change and other factors have in our community, we're going to be hosting a health fair out at the Community Food Bank. And we have 40 different representatives of health agencies there who are coming out to serve our community on one of their busy days at the food bank. So this is just a taste of the kind of activities that we do at Public Health. And as promised, I will show you, if we can advance, the county health rankings, which are going to be revealed in full tomorrow. And you can look at the next one. The health rankings look at, next slide please. They look at health in a couple of different ways, both the health outcomes, which are the length of life, and the quality of our life measured in illness and various diseases. And then we also look at health factors, which are more about health behaviors like tobacco rates, sexual activity, food, exercise, and then economic and social factors. So we look at income, at education, and then at built environment. So how walkable is the community? How safe are the roads? And if you go to the next slide, this is our back one, please.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
It's working now.
It's working, okay.
Well.
So this is the first slide, health outcomes. That's measuring length of life and quality of life. And the darker the color, well, the lighter the color, the better the ranking. And you can see in the corner there that San Benito County ranked number 20, so we're in the second quartile, so not bad, we're pretty good. We have dropped a little bit over the last few years, and I can give you a hint as to why, but can you all see where San Benito County is there, and we're kind of a light color green. So that's where we are in the health outcomes, 20 out of 58 counties. And then in health factors, we're 22 out of 58 counties, and again in the second quartile. And when I looked through the data, the two things that really stand out, and I hope that they're not a surprise to you. The first is that we have a higher than state average rate of diabetes, and that impacts a lot of our illness, such as heart disease and early premature death, and other issues with diabetes. And then surprisingly, but maybe not surprisingly, we have more than twice the state average of traffic fatalities. So I think that we're all pretty aware that when we've got commuter traffic on our little farm roads and sharing it with farm equipment and no shoulders, and there's a lot of factors that impact our traffic fatalities, but we could do better in areas such as seat belts and making sure our kids are in restraints. So education around those issues, as well as driving under the influence. So those are factors in our rates as well. So just a little bit of a teaser. Full data comes out tomorrow. You can Google it and find more specific data. It's under county health rankings. And so I'm happy to answer questions or to come back at a later date or meet with any of you individually and talk about the health of our community.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Richmond.
Doctor, as long as I have you here, I was up in Santa Clara County the other day and at a health clinic, and they made everybody put on masks because there's a flu epidemic in San Benito County, in Santa Clara County, so everybody's sitting up there with a mask. So I wanted to, talking about problems that are communicable, I wanted to congratulate you. I saw the numbers on the vaccination, the high rate of vaccination in San Benito County. I want to congratulate you and your staff on that terrific number, way above the number that it takes to prevent these outbreaks that come along. And it's very important. One of the easiest things you can do for your offspring is have them vaccinated before they at the appropriate time and place. And the vaccinations are getting better and better, and they last longer and longer. And I was very impressed by the high rate of vaccination in San Benito County. I think it's directly attributable to the education job you guys have done. Thank you very much.
Thank you
very much.
We do have very good rates for both kindergarten and 7th grade vaccination rates, and our flu vaccination rates are excellent as well. And it's not too late to get your flu vaccines. We're in the middle of an epidemic, as the Vice Mayor said, and we have lots of free flu vaccines still available at Public Health Services on a walk-in basis Monday through Friday.
If you can come back soon as the numbers are released and explain what's going on, would be greatly appreciated.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to move to Employee Service Awards for the first quarter of 2019.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Bill Averill, with the city manager with the City of Hollister, and today is a fitting day, April Fool's Day, to give Brett Miller his 10-year service award. Is he even here? Oh, I didn't see. Oh, now I have to talk nicely. Okay. Brett came to us about, obviously, 10 years ago. He spent the first 5 years or so working directly for the Administrative Services Director, doing mostly finance stuff, and then he had the opportunity to move up, so he's been doing that for the last 5 years. The last 5 years, we have a relatively new council, but I'm sure the mayor can attest to the fact that our financial reports are much cleaner, shorter. We've been able to accomplish a 2-year budget recently. There's just been a lot of good things that Brett's been able to do. He doesn't necessarily have the most glamorous job. He's usually the go-between between a lot of departments trying to spend the same dollar, so it's not always easy for him. But I want to thank him for being there for me all the time, and here's your 10-year.
Well, thank you.
Don't say anything.
Just want to thank everybody.
Thank you very much, Brett. Chief Westford?
Gee, I wonder why you're here, Ray.
We see him once every 5 years.
Yeah. So I was actually raised 15 field training officer here when he first came here the first time. Ray's had a couple of tours of duty here in Hollister, and obviously he's promoted. Actually, I promoted him. He's a fantastic officer. He's a great sergeant. He is one of the guys that does a lot of our training in-house, so he's obviously very essential to our whole operation, and we appreciate him very much. Ray, congratulations on 10 years.
Thank you very much. I got to go back to work before my boss gets me in trouble.
So I actually have 3 more, but they're actually, one's working and 2 are off. I'll go through them. Alex Oropeza, CSO. She does our downtown parking enforcement. She's very essential. She does a lot of our planning for some of our extra things that we do, like National Night Out. Della Felice, 10-year employee, works in records, a very important person that makes sure that all of our records get to the DA's office and are in order. Matt Weiss, Sergeant, 10 years. He came to us from Los Banos. I also came from Los Banos as well. He actually is in charge of our range and does a lot of our training as well. Very essential employee. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I've got 3 firefighters I want to recognize for their 20-year award. About 20 years ago, the Hollister Fire Department hired 6 firefighters. Out of those 6, we have a total of 4 left. 2 went to San Jose. First one I'd like to acknowledge is Carlos Bedolla. If I can have you come up, Charlie. Battalion Chief Bedolla entered the fire service as a paid call firefighter in 1993. He worked his way through the ranks from reserve firefighter to his current appointment as battalion chief. Chief Bedolla serves as the fire marshal for San Benito County, the cities of Hollister and San Juan Bautista. Before his appointment to battalion chief, Charlie served as an engine company officer for over 13 years, to include collateral assignments of personal protective equipment, project managing, training officer, and safety manager. As the fire marshal, Chief Bedolla standardized the fire code for the entire county, provides input pertaining to fire protection and safety development projects that affect the community, and he has established an arson task force that is comprised of firefighters, Hollister police officers, and sheriff's deputies. Chief Bedolla reflects great credit upon himself, the Hollister Fire Department, and the City of Hollister. Congratulations. Thank you. The next one I'd like to acknowledge is Kenneth Malin. Kenny's on duty right now. He's probably on a call somewhere, but I did request his presence, and he's a little job-oriented than most people are. Battalion Chief Malin entered the fire service as a paid call firefighter for the city of Santa Clara in 1990. Kenny became a paid call firefighter here in the city of Hollister in 1997 and worked his way through the ranks to his current assignment as planning section chief and battalion chief of B shift. Kenny served as an engine company officer for 13 years and headed projects such as wildland firefighting, response, assisting in reserve fire training, and was deployed on a strike team to Southern California fires during the state's worst fire season. As Plant Section Chief, Kenny forecasts emerging concerns, current and future operations, and is involved in development of a strategic plan. Chief Malin reflects great credit upon himself, the Hollister Fire Department, and the City of Hollister. Thank you for your service, Kenny, and I'll grab his. I got one more. William Olguin, for 20 years. Firefighter Olguin entered into the fire service in 1997 as a Hollister Fire paid call firefighter. Bill is aggressive, tactic firefighter. He's been on strike team deployments and has numerous fire calls that built his experience. As an aggressive as he is combating fires, he is just as attentive to caring for the community members who are having the worst day of their lives. I've seen Bill calm a frightened child and ensure an elderly person of a favorable outcome. Firefighter Olguin reflects great credit upon himself, the Hollister Fire Department, and the City of Hollister. Thank you for your service, Bill. Thank you.
All right, Bill.
Greetings, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Brian Swanson, and I serve as the Development Services Director for the city. Desiree Martinez began her career with the City of Hollister on March 24th of 2014. In her role as Code Enforcement Supervisor, Desiree leads a dynamic team in the education and enforcement of the city's codes and ordinances. Desiree has an immensely important and at the same time extremely difficult job. However, I have never seen a day without a smile from Desiree. The community and city are very fortunate to have a wonderful person like Desiree in the role of Code Enforcement Supervisor. Thank you, Desiree.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you to all of you that served the city so well. We're going to move now to the consent agenda. Are there any items council would like to pull?
No.
Item A4 by Vice Mayor Richmond. Thank you. Do we have any from the public?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda outside of item number 4.
Okay.
A4, excuse me.
Second.
The motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll go to item A4.
Yes, sir.
I wonder if you could just take a moment, since this is a substantial expense. I am in favor of it, and I'm going to support it. But I wonder if you'd take just a moment and give a short version of to the public of what the upgrade of our communication system is all about.
I will defer to the project manager, Captain Reynoso.
Please.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, what you have before you is a resolution to accept a bid for a project for public safety repeaters in our community. For decades, we've only had one repeater in the city, and a repeater is a radio, an essential part of the radio system that we have to communicate with. The handheld radios, the car radios, communicating to dispatch, it's all within the public safety radio network. And what we've done is identified areas in our city where there is a lacking of signal, and there's been too many instances where our officers are calling for help or requesting something on the radio, and there's nothing heard. There's either static or just clicking noises, and it's happening way too many times. What we identified as a solution is to install repeaters strategically around our city. These repeaters would be networked into each other, and it would essentially blanket the whole city with a signal that would be able to successfully be heard, whether they're in their car or have the portable radios in their hand. Currently, there's some big buildings in the city where we're inside. The the signal's not strong enough to get out. Areas in the southern edge of our city are pretty far away from the only repeater in town. In addition to this, these repeater systems will be broadcasting in digital format, which is a lot clearer and a lot stronger for the signal. And the goal is to marry up these 6 repeaters with the existing repeaters, and so that we would all benefit from a stronger, more reliable, and easily heard radio system for all the public safety agencies here. Specifically the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office and the Hollister Police Department. The fire department's on a different frequency. And we did go out to bid, and on February 22nd and March 1st, we announced it, published it, and received the bid from EVS on March 8th. It was the only bid that we received. EVS is the only company that we know of that works within our county that provides this kind of system. They are our sole provider for the Hollister Police Department and the Fire Department when it comes to radio installation, emergency equipment, lights and sirens and stuff of that nature. What we want to request, and one of the things we put out to bid, is if this system does go down, if there's a failing, we want an immediate response. We put in there that We needed a response within an hour to get the system back up if it ever went down. And they were the only company that provided a bid, and with the maintenance aspect of it. There were also almost $9,000 less than we anticipated the cost would be. And so before you, you have a resolution to accept that bid and for the maintenance contract from this point forward.
Thank you, Cameron. So I appreciate it, and I'm in support of that program.
Councilmember Sendes?
Hi. I remember we talked about that, and I was just wondering about, so now you're going to go, and if we can explain that to the public and myself, just as a reminder, you're going to go digital, so now the public is not going to have access to that online or through scanners. Was that something that we talked about before? Or can you explain that better? I might have misunderstood it.
If they have a digital scanner, there is a possibility that they can hear that, but once we do broadcast in digital, it wouldn't be like it is today where you just turn on a scanner and you hear what's happening. I think we also discussed about an incident that happened where it was it could have been more tragic, where somebody was calling on 911 and the dispatcher was relaying to police officers what was happening, and it was definitely a life or death situation. And somebody was listening on the scanner and rebroadcasting, basically putting play-by-play what was happening, the address, the location, the name of everything on Facebook. And that's one of the things that, obviously this was a deeply personal incident, but it could be something where there's a critical incident where there's firearms involved and the officers are responding and they don't have time to be subtle on the radio. They're saying what they're doing, and somebody could be telling the other people what the officers are doing, and that could be detrimental an officer safety issue. So one of the things that broadcasting and digital would do is it would limit how many people would be able to hear this stuff being said on the radio. May I add, what is being said on the radio is still being recorded in dispatch, and if anyone ever needs to have hear what happened, all that would still be recorded. It just it wouldn't be like your traditional somebody listening to the scanner and being able to tell everybody what's going on, which in some cases is, not a big deal, but in some cases can be life and death.
This seems to be the trend. This is what most cities are doing nowadays.
There's been a lot of cases where they're going this way, mostly because the digital frequency is just like your old radio with the TV with the rabbit ears, and you're moving around, and now you're clear, your HD and your television. This is the same type of thing, but for radio. It's clearer, it's more precise. You're going from a staticky old TV to something like HD, high definition television, the radio version of it.
And Councilman, I also might add that the future is also the transfer of data as well via radio.
That's a good point. Going digital will let us transmit to radios. So if an officer gets into a foot pursuit and drops his radio and we can't find it and somebody grabs it and starts transmitting stuff, we can remotely send a signal to the radio to either locate it or to what we say kill it, meaning it won't be able to broadcast, it won't be able to work anymore, so we can stop that. And a lot of you, if you listen to the scanner, sometimes they're saying open mic, open mic, open mic. Somebody's sitting on their radio and has it open, and as long as they have that open radio, nobody can get out. You can't be heard. And when everybody's asking open mic, and the same person who has it on is not hearing it because he or she's sitting on the radio. And yeah, it does happen. With digital frequency, we would see on our radios who is transmitting. So we'd be able to see, Chief Westrick, turn off your radio. Or he might tell me, Carlos, turn off your radio, because it'll have our name on that digital display. And I may add that what was covered in the resolution, those digital radios, those digital capable radios, we already have those. We used Homeland Security grant money years ago to purchase them, and both the Sheriff's Office and the Police Department have those digital capable radios already. They're just broadcasting on analog right now.
Thank you.
So just to be clear for everyone, we're not talking about the digital tonight. We're talking about the repeaters.
The repeaters for the installation and the programming, we're not going to go digital right now. Right. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about another step in the long-term project.
Exactly. Councilmember Lenore?
When you say the south part of the city, like how far does it go that way?
There's areas in over...
Ridgemar?
Yeah, well, we rarely go into Ridgemark.
Well, I mean, if you were around that area, well, Cielo Vista is county too, but if you're
Yes.
there in the west of Fairview, it's good.
It starts getting staticky on the
When
radios.
we talked earlier, when we met at the office, well, didn't we have some discussion about South County? And so the fire department's on a different frequency. Do you know, do they have dead zones as well?
Yes.
And we think we kind of talked about that, and the sheriff's office is gonna maybe try to do that in the future.
That's the
'cause
hope.
they're the ones that are critical there, and sometimes they can't get out. right?
Exactly. Yes. This is like I said. This is an issue with our entire public safety radios. Mostly nothing has been done for
Right, so-
decades.
So what has
If
to
we
occur-
can for a second, I want to make sure
go
we're straying off topic. We're actually talking about digital instead of the repeaters.
Okay.
And I don't want the public to be confused tonight, since that actually is
Okay.
not agendized. But it's important to understand what the repeaters do. Question I have for you is, have we implemented in our code yet to require them in the newer buildings? We talked about this when this first came up.
I think that the fire department was talking about it being in the code already, and we were going to look into whether it's already part of the code, and if not, to look into it. I know other cities have done that, where new buildings going in, that if they're over a certain square footage, are required to put their own type of a repeater inside the building, so that when fire department personnel or police walk in, that they can essentially boost the signal while they're inside the building.
And that, as we talked about, is very important. I actually experienced something that happened because of a lack of a repeater on a project I was on in Redwood City. It was an 8-story parking garage, and somebody was threatening to attack somebody with a hammer. So when the police were called, they didn't know where to go. And 15 officers were running around through the entire building, could not find the officer that needed the help because the system had not been installed yet. So it's a very critical piece that is needed. That's why I'm
Absolutely.
so supportive of this. I just want to make sure we are implemented in our code and we are requiring it, because so often people will say, well, it's not that big of a building, and then you get into the situation and it's not, you can't get the communication going on. So
Yeah, it's usually not the size of the building, it's the construction of the
Exactly
building
right.
and how robust
Concrete,
it is. And there is a code out there, it's state and federal. Right now, we're working with our sole source provider to get that information and then adopt it into the municipal code. And then at that point, from when we here in the legislative part of the city adopt it, then every development that comes in after that, a large commercial structure, they'll have to put that in place.
Right, so this is how this whole system works at Repeater. So thank you for all the information. Vice Mayor Richmond?
Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Mayor. One of the things I might suggest concerning repeaters, since we're talking about repeaters, is that we talk to the Board of Education. Some of the school buildings are substantial, especially the new school buildings around the high school, I know are substantial. Lots of steel, lots of concrete. And we ought to take a look and ask the school board and the Board of Education to take a look and perhaps test out our ability to communicate within their buildings, if we haven't already done so. It's just an idea for the future. As long as we're talking about repeaters, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any speaker cards on this item?
Yes. Savon?
Hello, my beautiful community of champions. My name is Zavon, and I am a full-blown artist. And I just want to say something. Even if you walk into a construction site, what's the main thing? Safety first, right? Safety, no matter what it is of keeping up with trend or being forward with it. All I know is that we shouldn't have any dead zones in any direction with our police department or with our firemen. They should have all the latest things, because we built a lot of houses, remember, Mayor? A lot of people are here. So now we need to make sure that the police department and the fire department are able to hear everything going on. And also to let them know, like, hey, we're here as a council and a community to make sure that the protection and the safety of the community is there. Because I'm just having a sense of, like, wonderment. Why are we talking about this thing again when the council, I feel, should talk about this amongst themselves? Because you are the mayor, the leadership role, so you want to, like, discuss the safety, with your council. And you want to talk about things like homeless, like those 2 homeless people that died in the one in a van and the other one drank herself to death on the streets the next day. Or how about that? Like what's going on with the homeless people, or going on with everything about the youth doing, what are they doing? Now they're getting blamed to the newspaper, right? Because they're doing, what else is there to do here, Mr. Mayor? So safety, I think we should be like, not talking about that, because safety should be here. If the cops need it, give it to them. It's to keep our city safe, right? I mean, aren't we building a lot of houses already? I mean, did we build like so many houses? There's gonna be so many people to be like, dude, like what are we gonna do now, like when all our technology is like all backwards? Honestly, Mayor. Dead zones in Hollister, like the firemen, really? Do they have an analysis yet? Honestly. I'm just asking you, Mayor, I'm just trying to check up on your job, because like, are you even doing it? Yeah. Honestly, Mayor, look what we're talking about. Yeah. Community, look at what we're talking about on our agenda. Honestly, look what we're talking about. No youth, no homeless, no nothing about that, no festivals, no nothing. Again, we're talking about things like debt management. Mayor, put yourself together and stay concentrated that you're the leader of the city. Right. And figure out what you're doing with the agenda. Honestly, Mayor, I'm being serious with you.
What we're doing here tonight to prove this.
I know, Mayor. I know. I know, Mayor. I understand, because we still have no cookies and milk for people to come in and enjoy. I mean, we're a city, and we're not having a meeting in a big building no more. Why is that? Is that like a once in a year lifetime? Like, hey, we're gonna have a big old meeting now in the big building, so everybody can feel like they're part of something. Come on, Mayor. Honestly, look at what we're doing, Mayor, as a city. No, Mayor, honestly, we're talking about the safety, Mayor. We're talking about something. They need the technology. So why are we talking about it? You know that as a leader, right?
It has to be approved here. This is why we have meetings. We have to approve.
Oh, he can't. Okay, wait. So you're telling me that the council doesn't get together by themselves, like you guys, just together back there and talk about things? Really?
That's illegal.
So nothing happens besides just what happens right here.
That's right.
So then why don't our things get answered then?
That's what we're here doing, right?
Really? Honestly?
Yes.
Because I could go by a list of things that haven't been answered or just looked over, like nothing happened. Like the 4th of July rally, the biggest one, when the 2 residents came and they said they had the funding for it, and you just like shined them on,
do you
right?
have a question on this item?
I do, Mayor. Make sure that the safety's here, right? Safety first, Mayor. So if they need it, give it to them.
That's what we're doing.
Okay.
Tonight.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from council? Do we have any speakers?
No, there are no more speakers.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve Resolution 2019-68, awarding the purchase and installation of public safety radio repeater system to emergency vehicle specialists.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
We're going to move to item B, but before we do, just so the public understands, there is no such thing as backroom meetings to discuss what we want to do. Everything is out here, transparent for all of you to be involved. Departments make recommendations. We discuss it in public here to make sure it's very transparent. And that's how government works. I know there's a lot of students here tonight, so I want to make sure you understand how the process works. And we want to be as transparent as possible. We're going to go ahead and move to item B.
Yes, this item for the successor agency to the City of Hollister Redevelopment Agency would authorize the initiation of refunding of the 2009 tax allocation bond. You considered a similar resolution previously this year. This resolution would be forwarded to the Oversight Board, requesting that they authorize the successor agency to pursue refunding the 2009 tax allocation bond, and also to retain the legal and financial advisors and consulting for the refunding process. There would be savings to the taxing entities of about $165,000 per year. Are there any questions?
Any questions from council? Vice Mayor Richmond?
Was that 30 years? How many years is it left to go?
That would be till 2033.
Okay, so 33 minus 18, whatever that is. It's about 25 years, something like that?
It's about
14 years.
14 years left. Okay, so it's 165,000 saved, estimated for every year for 14 years. And our cost on that is about $200,000 to refinance, something in that range. Was 195.
170 something.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions from the council members? Do we have any speaker cards on this item?
There are no speakers.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, resolution 2019-03, successor agency, resolution of successor agency to the redevelopment agency, City of Hollister, approving the issuance of bonds to refund certain outstanding bonds of the former redevelopment agency, approving the execution and delivery of an indenture of trust, and providing for other matters properly relating thereto.
Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're going to move to item B2.
With that approval, to do that refunding, we needed to update our debt management plan to be in compliance with the government code. So that's all. The policy that we brought to you meets those standards. So we're just asking that you adopt the debt management policy.
Okay. Is there any questions from council? Councilmember Lenore?
We never had one?
No, we had one. We just there were some changes to the government code, so we just made an update. That's more some disclosures, requirements, and so we just made those updates to our policy. But we did have one that was meet the government finance officers' best practices. We're just making sure we fine-tune it to meet the government code.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any speaker cards?
There are no speakers.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we adopt 2019-04 SA debt management policy for the successor agency.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We're going to move to item C, public input. This is the time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speaker cards are available in the lobby and are to be completed and given to the city clerk before speaking. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the city council. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Please note the state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any speaker cards?
Tammy Avalos.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Tammy Aviles, and I am with the Coalition for a New Community Library and Resource Center. Short name is SBC New Library. And recognizing the current space constraints, our group was formed to find ways to grow the library, both physical and digital, and further enhance its services and create a resource center. The vision of a new community library and resource center is to build a state-of-the-art facility which will house the expanded library and include technology rooms, meeting rooms, study rooms, classrooms for all sorts of activities for people aged 0 to 99 plus. As one of San Benito County's most used public agencies, we acknowledge our growth and are taking the first steps in advocating and planning for the future of this essential pillar of the Hollister community. We have met with a few of you, and will continue to reach out to the Hollister officials, county officials, and to discuss how we can move forward with this facility. And we invite everyone here to join us. And our next meeting is this coming Saturday, April the 6th at 10 a.m. at the library. You can check us out at sbcnewlibrary.org. And in closing, a new community library and resource center will increase access to vital resources and information for all of Hollister and San Benito County, promoting a healthy, opportunity-rich community for generations to come. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Tammy.
Susan Logue.
Hi, Mayor, City Council, and fellow Hollisterians, San Benitoans. My name is Susan Logue. I'm president of the Friends of the Library. We recently held our annual fundraiser. It was the Tea and Treasures on March 17th at San Juan Oaks and had about 100 attendees. And we had a really delicious brunch at San Juan Oaks. The community is really very generous with the library, as we have over 40 donors. So our silent auction items are very of high quality. Some of the businesses that support us, just to name a few, is Running Rooster, Heavenly Bakery, Payne's Restaurant, Hardeen's, Ace Hardware, Eden Rift Winery, DeRose Winery, Pet Friends, really just to name a few. We raised awareness about the library, its services and programs, while raising $4,000. This money will go directly to the library. It is used in the best way possible for our community and whatever the community needs are. Thank you all for participating, our donors and the many volunteers that make this possible. As to the library's latest news, we're happy to be open on Sundays now. So now we've got 7 days a week at the library. Sundays and Saturdays have been busier and busier, almost than the weekdays, which is pretty amazing. So that's really good news. It shows the community wanted it, and so we've provided it with the Board of Supervisors' help and their funding. Many of the local people are enjoying some terrific programs. For example, recently we had Irish dancing at the library. The next things that are happening is several awesome things are being offered online. So from your home, if you enter your go to the library website and put in your library card, you can have access to, they're going to have canopy streaming, so there's going to be video services available. So every resident, or everyone who has a card, so everyone in your family, every child or adult, would get like 7 movies a month downloaded for free into your home computer. So that's going to be available as of the end of this month. It is available now, and they'll also have a cloud library. So you're going to be able to go to, from your home, go to the library's website, go up to the cloud, and you'll be able to get about 90,000 books. So that's a brand new access, just started this month with Nora Conti's, leadership as head librarian. We're also going to have something called Archives Unbound, which is a lot to do with history and architecture. So if you're interested in history, you're going to be able to find many, many, many thousands and thousands of documents. We're also going to have the New York Times for free. So if you want to read the paper, you can. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Zavon?
Hello, my community of successful, brilliant, go-getters, champions. I can keep going. I'm Zavon, and I'm a resident here. And I just want to talk to my community real quick about something that I feel is important, and that's success and art and color and things of fun and venture. And I see other communities, I hear them on the radio all the time, announcing that they're going to have like a festival here, a festival there. And Hollister has some places as well. And I think to myself, what is Hollister missing? What is something that Hollister needs? It needs color. It needs color. If you look at other cities right now, San Jose had them, they put installations everywhere of bicycles. So did Gilroy. Why can't we put some motorcycles? Why can't we get a welder to put some installations of motorcycles in color? If you look at the buildings, a lot of them are bare. They're really stationary color, like white or gray. And if you pay attention to those colors all the time, yourself is going to start being a person of repressed a little bit, because you're not going to have no color. You need color to make yourself change the mood even. And if it wasn't important, there wouldn't be companies spending millions of dollars to patent colors or to show a way of how to use colors together. Or there wouldn't be teams looking for colors for fashion retailers like Gap or Abercrombie and Fitch. They wouldn't pay people to do that. Color's important. And it makes me wonder, why isn't there more color around the city? And then when I go back to, the Art Council. Jennifer Lane, the art director. I don't like to but when an art director tells you that your artwork is too big and they have an empty gallery across the street and you paid $40 to get in there, that's not, it could be distracting, it could be discouraging, it could be something that fuels you though and gives you passion to move forward. You know, I always told myself, you know, don't look at gestures and gossip of another person to decharacterize who you built so long to build. Let it be lessons and learning of things that come to you in life, you know? And I love my community. And I don't mean to harsh at the mayor, but you are in the leadership role. So, I mean, I just see it as that, like, honestly, the storage units that are going to be built next to all those little shopping centers, you're going to have all that space going to be storage units. Really? Like, that's good space. We should have put, like, buildings there that are going to cater to the Rancho San Justo or the gym, like a Jamba Juice, another section with, like, healthy things. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like, we got to really look what we're doing, because if we don't, we're going to lose a lot of good property space to some things that aren't going to make sense. And other cities, look at Los Baños. Look at their city. Look how they're making it. I mean, honestly, it's attracting, you know? But Hollister's cooler, I think, and I believe. And there's a lot of innovative youth here, too, because you can see it in the newspaper all the time that the high schoolers are doing things. And I'm proud of you guys. Honestly, I am. And we have a youth community. That's awesome. And I just want to say, you know what? Awesome. I believe in you. How about that?
Thank you.
There are no more speakers.
There's no more speakers? Okay. All right, we're going to move to D, City Manager's Report.
I have nothing to report this evening.
Okay. We are coming up on 7:30, so I know there's a lot of young people here ready to check out and go home and do their homework. So if you guys, we'll take a 5-minute break. It's all right with council, and just stamp them out. If you students want to come up and get your stamps.
which I've given to the city attorney to present. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Richmond. Mr. Mayor, what I'd like to do actually is read a proposed motion, and then if Vice Mayor Richmond or another council member wants to adopt that as their motion, the city council can proceed that way. This would be a motion pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2B as in Bravo, subsection 2. A motion to add to the agenda consideration of a letter from the City Council of the City of Hollister to support AB 1783, known as the Farm Worker Housing Bill, to be executed by any member of the City Council and sent to the Local Government Committee of the Assembly of the State of California. This motion would include findings by the City Council that the matter should be added to tonight's agenda due to the urgency that the proposed letter of support must be submitted prior to Wednesday, April 3rd, 2019, which is prior to the next available reconvening of the City Council. Also due to the fact that the need for the City Council to consider this matter was not known until earlier today, obviously not in time to be included on this regular meeting's agenda. And finally, the matter is an urgent need for the City of Hollister to consider the letter of support because the subject matter of the proposed letter and the proposed legislation potentially impacts the health, safety, and welfare of this community. I realize that's a very long motion, and I apologize for that, but it needed to include those findings. And if, Madam Clerk, if there's any confusion there, we can straighten it out later.
This is the first item. First, we'd have to vote as a council to allow it to be put onto the agenda.
Yes.
So somebody's going to have to make a motion on that, the first part.
I'd like to first talk about why I believe it's an urgency item, and I'm supporting it. I'm supporting it as an urgency item because I was notified by a member of the legislative team of our Assembly member Robert Rivas that a bill that he's sponsoring, AB 1783, was pushed up on the legislative agenda at the state of California, going to the Assembly floor on Wednesday, and I was just notified of that today. So obviously, I was not aware of it previously and could not put it on the agenda here. And they said to be effective, we need to get if we intend to support it, we need to get that done by Wednesday. Therefore, I think it meets the requirements of the Brown Act to be put on the agenda as an urgency item, and I would make a motion that we adopt the resolution as written, as read by the city attorney, to put it on the agenda as an urgency item.
First we're going to be put on the agenda.
Yeah, that's what I said.
First, before we have a vote on that, is there any public comment?
No, there are no speakers.
Okay, so is that your motion to put it on the agenda?
That is my motion to put it on the agenda,
Okay,
yes. That's all.
Is there a motion? There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor of putting it on the agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. At this time, we will discuss the item, or are you going to make a
Yes, I
motion
would
on
like
that?
to, well, I would like to discuss the item to make sure that the public is aware of what we're doing and why I support the item. I think it's important to know. AB 1783 is called the Farm Workers Housing Law. And essentially what it does is it speeds the ability for farmers to put in employee-based farm worker housing. It also upgrades that housing to better housing, more family-oriented, less in the dormitory style that's traditional for itinerant farm workers. It provides that once the housing is put up on farmland, that that there is an accelerated schedule for it, just ministerial rulings. It says that the tax base for the housing and the costs will be similar to that for the farmland, and also that the housing will be managed by a selected and approved nonprofit. Therefore, the farmers who put up the housing for employees would not manage the housing themselves. And therefore, those people who occupy that housing would not feel indebted to the employer for the housing, but the housing is available. And the reason I think it's important, even though we're not an agricultural city, we are an agricultural county, and I think the reason it's important for the city of Hollister is that I believe much of the farm workers who need housing in this county actually have to find it in the city of Hollister, and I think it leads to overcrowding, and so, in some cases, illegal or unauthorized, if you like that word better, whatever suits you, housing that is also substandard and provides health and safety problems for the people occupying the homes in converted garages and so on and so forth. There are fire hazards we're well aware of. Our fire department works hard to make sure they get out the smoke detectors. There are, we have found housing where people are using extension cords rather than the correct wiring, don't have the adequate emergency exits and so on and so forth. I think it's essential that we reduce those problems, and the only way to do it is provide good employee housing for the farm workers. I think it's important, and therefore I'm personally in support of the bill.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any questions or comments from council?
No, but I guess I have a comment.
Yes.
I wanted to thank Marty for being so caring for the issue and putting a special thing on the agenda.
Okay. Do we have any speaker cards?
There are no speakers.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Therefore, I'd like to make a motion that the city council send a letter of support as described by the city attorney, and to use as to be signed by the mayor if he's available, otherwise by any member of the city council on behalf of the mayor, and that the letter format be similar to the letters of support we have recently sent forward. Therefore, they are ready to go because we have scratch, and that they be sent to the appropriate legislative portal via the internet as described in the email that was passed to all the council members by Assemblyman Rivas's office.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're going to move on to item
you.
F1.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Amber Cameron. I'm an assistant city planner. Tonight before you, the item that I have is initiation of pre-zone 2019-1. The applicant is requesting authorization to initiate pre-zoning for 3 parcels of approximately 40 acres located in the unincorporated area of San Benito County within the industrial business park designation of the Hollister General Plan for annexation into the corporation limits of Hollister. The site is located at 3000 San Felipe, west of San Felipe Road, and north of APN 050010008. The properties are currently under agricultural use with approximately 4 acres in the southeast portion that are being used for residential purposes, as you can see in the bottom of this outlined picture. The property is being pre-zoned as industrial business park, which is contingent for neighboring city of Hollister properties, and is consistent with the industrial land use category of the City of Hollister General Plan. The industrial plan, the industrial business park zoning district in the City of Hollister provides for light manufacturing, light industrial, and office uses. The current zone designation within the San Benito County is for AP, which is for agricultural production. The property is located within the City of Hollister sphere of influence and general planning area. One of the determinations that LAFCO must make when approving an annexation is the services will be available pursuant to Section 17.24.250 of the Hollister Municipal Code. Pending approval of the City Council to authorize the annexation of the pre-zone, the applicant must submit an application of pre-zone to the city. The application for pre-zone must include a plan for services that describes how public services, including but not limited to sewer, water, storm drain, fire, police, and transportation will be provided. Currently, 4 residential units are served by using an existing well and septic tanks. Staff is recommending that the City Council authorize the initiation of pre-zone application number 2019-1. The applicant for the pre-zone recently received approval for a tentative map to subdivide the parcels within the city limits to the south and the west of the subject parcels. As a condition of approval for tentative map 2018-4, city services shall be extended to those parcels in the subdivision. Services will then be available to these parcels proposed for pre-zone and annexation as a part of this project. With that, if you have any questions for staff, also the applicant and the applicant's engineer are here if you have any questions.
Any questions from council? Vice Mayor Richard?
Thank you. Do you know if that farmland is designated prime farmland?
I do not. The engineer is indicating that she doesn't believe so.
Because if it's designated prime farmland, I believe if we change it over to industrial park, that the applicant's going to have to find some land to offset that, if I'm not mistaken, and either they'll have to find land within their reach, or they will have to find somewhere else to mitigate the loss of prime farmland. Is that correct?
Thank you, Vice Mayor Richmond. Yes, in the past we have included with the environmental review of parcels that are considered to be prime ag land, a mitigation measure to essentially, when prime farmland is being converted, there is really no mitigation. It's a significant impact that's unavoidable. It's no matter how much we try to offset, but in the past what we've done is we've offset it to on a basis of one acre to 1 acre ratio. So this is something that's similar that we would consider for this as well during the pre-zone process if it's
okay. That's understood. That if that turns out to be prime farmland, we're going to have to mitigate it. The applicant's going to have to mitigate it somewhere.
Right.
Somehow.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Right. And as far as the residents, what's the story on the residential portion of that property? What's the intention? Is the intention for the residents to go away, if the residential portion to stay there? I'm a little confused. We're gonna zone this for light industrial, essentially?
Yes, thank you. Yes, it is going to be, it's being pre-zoned for industrial business park. It's similar to light industrial, so therefore, if it does get pre-zoned and annexed, the existing homes would be non-conforming. I mean, they are existing, and that's fine. They can continue to exist. However, no additional homes or significant additions to the homes can occur once it is pre-zoned to industrial business park. We're not sure if they're currently being rented or leased, or if the actual owners live there, but they can continue to live there. However, if the intent is to do away with the homes, eventually they're going to have to go through the proper mechanism to essentially start that and notification process and work with the tenants and so forth.
But we're not going to extend city services out there until such time as they have an approved map for the light industrial park.
That is correct. Yes. So in this, as my colleague Amber mentioned, currently the property to the south and the property to the west was received a tentative map for the subdivision of approximately 200 acres into I think it was about 60 different parcels. And so as Amber mentioned, a condition of that tentative map was to extend all the services to those properties. And so therefore, upon pre-zoning and future development of this site, there will be a condition that the services also be extended to this property.
Okay, my thought pattern is that I hope we have enough businesses to fill it up.
Right.
Let me put it that way. I think light industrial. I see a lot of action out there at the Technology Park right now, and a little more action than I'm used to at the airport, airport side. I think the area around the airport was always thought of as our industrial area. That's why Technology Parkway is out there. So I tend to, I would tend to support that, but I'd like to hear what other people have to say. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Lenore.
Abraham, what's the zoning of the county right there?
The zoning, the
Yes.
zoning for the county out there, I believe it's, is it AP, ag productive? Ag
So
productive.
the homes in the county are legal conforming?
The homes in the county would be, they would be conforming since they were built
All right, so
long time ago.
did you make it clear to the Borges family that they're gonna be legal non-conforming? I think that's an important discussion, before you get all the way through the process, that they need to understand what that means if things are destroyed. There's rules there for legal non-conforming. I wanna make sure, I know the family, I wanna make sure they understand that.
Very well.
The water, so when the project gets built for the industrial park, at that time, will they receive city water?
Yes, so
Okay.
that would be a requirement that they connect to the city
And
water.
then the
city
septic
source.
tanks, do you wait for them to fail, or will they have to hook up to the sewer when it's there?
When it's there,
They'll
we
have
would
to
want
do
to,
it when it's
yeah,
there.
yeah, we
They'll
would put a
abate the
condition.
septic tanks.
Yeah, they would work with the San Bernardino County Health,
Okay.
Environmental Health Department to properly abandon them and connect to the
Alright.
sewer as a condition of approval.
So again, if you'll just discuss with them the meaning of legal non-conforming, since they are, Bob is a friend of mine, I want to make sure he understands that.
We'll make a note of that,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Just for clarification, the developer would bring the services in. City's not paying for it. They will be required to be using sewer, not septic.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor, that is correct. It would be a requirement from the property owner.
And there would have to be the mitigation of the ag land.
Yeah,
Whatever
and
that works out to.
During the pre-zone, we would look at the environmental review pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, and there's different sections. I believe section number 2 talks about ag land, and so that's where the mitigation measure would be incorporated. That's
Okay.
correct.
And just, again, to clarify everything else, this is commercial light industrial. This is not residential we're talking about here.
Residential would not be allowed in the industrial business park,
thank
with the exception of gatekeeper and type of housing, like if there's like a use that requires somebody to stay overnight, and we
Yes.
would want to make sure
Right,
that there's
right.
safe quarters for that.
Whatever is required.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have any speaker cards on this item?
No, there are no speakers.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a motion from council?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2019-70, approving the initiation of a pre-zoning application for 3 parcels on approximately 40 acres at 3000 San Felipe Road in the unincorporated area of San Benito County.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 5-0. We'll move to item F2.
Good evening, City Council, Mr. Mayor. My name is Eva Kelly. I'm an assistant planner with the Development Services Department. Tonight is an item that you saw at January 22nd meeting of the City Council, so I'll try and be brief and just summarize. This is an initiation of pre-zone for a 4.69 acre parcel at the southwesterly terminus of Apricot Lane. And this is a pre-zone initiation as well as a general plan amendment initiation because this property is zoned in the general plan as fully open space. To remind you that in August of 2018, the Planning Commission approved an item of a use determination for this property to state that it was not the intent of the general plan to not allow residential and to provide an open space buffer only along that western edge for the San Benito River Greenway Trail. And so the 4 reasons behind that use determination was, again, the intent of the general plan. There was a grant funding to build that whole parcel out as open space at the time, and that did not go through. And then the other reason was that The San Benito River Greenway Trail, and I do have a slide here. Here is the trail from that mitigated neg deck that was approved in, I believe, 2008, showing the trail. It had the parking lot on this particular property, and there was supposed to be about 15 parking stalls. And in the Apricot Lane subdivision, which didn't exist in 2008 but exists now, they put in 17 parking stalls in the current Apricot Park. And this project, if it was pre-zoned and annexed, went to tentative map, they would put in more additional parking, both in the form of a parking lot that kind of extends Apricot Park, as well as parallel parking along the open space. That's their plan for now. So that was the second reason. Here's a map of the site plan. Residential is white, open space is green. And then they're also planning to zone to R2, which would be a medium density residential general plan designation, as well as a 2-family residential, so duets and duplexes, zoning district in the actual zoning map. And so that allows for, strictly duplexes and duets, no single family, as well as no apartments or like big development. It's small lots, 2-family homes. And there is R2 directly to the east. This is our zoning map. And so one of our R2 zones is directly contiguous to this piece. So that was one of the reasons why that multifamily R2 was chosen. And then the final reason that was considered is that the county zoning designation for this property is not open space as it is in ours. It's residential. It's actually 8 to 20 residential units per acre in the county. And so this would make it more consistent with the county's designation if they were to develop in the city or the county. So I believe that is pretty much the summary of this project. If you have any questions for me, I can do my best to answer those. And the applicant's representative is here as well.
Thank you. Any questions from council?
Mr. Mayor, may I interrupt? Just as a reminder, because this would be an amendment to the general plan, it would require a 4/5 vote to pass.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments or questions?
I have comments.
Okay. Do you want to go first, Councilmember Lenore?
Whatever you like.
First
Okay,
up.
well, I just want to clarify that it does meet the intent of the general plan.
Yes, that was the determination of the Planning Commission, and the reasoning for that, besides those 4 reasons, is that there was also a use determination made for the Apricot Park subdivision. Just to the north, that is designated, or it used to be designated, just strictly in half as open space and residential. And when that was in its approval phase, the Planning Commission made a use determination that it was strictly to provide an open space buffer and kind of an extension of the future trail. And so they moved that line over and created what's now Apricot Park.
Okay.
Vice Mayor Richmond?
Thank you. I have some questions. This may not be, it's more about the park, my first one's more about the park master plan that we just had up here. I don't know if you're familiar with it, so you may not be able to answer it. It's not a quiz, but.
I know a bit.
Good. On the park master plan, what do we show for that area? Do we show only the trail, Riverside? I don't want to get the name, I don't want to louse up the name, help me.
Yeah, I've heard it called the San Benito River Parkway, the River Trail, the Greenway.
Yeah, that's why I'm confused. Do we only show that, or do we show a park there other than that? Do you remember?
I don't know that one. I don't believe there's a park. Mary? The county's park master plan is what she's saying, that ours doesn't show it south of the water reclamation facility, but the county's park plan of the trail should show the trail.
Oh, but it only shows the trail. It doesn't show a park.
Correct.
The county doesn't show
believe
that whole area. So when we say open space, well, open space is one thing, but what I want to know is, is somebody committed to build a park in that whole area, or is it only the trail?
I don't believe that there's a park in that area,
okay.
no. I think in 2008, well, not even in 2008, it was just when the general plan was done, so maybe in 2005, there was potentially a funding to do some kind of park, open space development. It was just the staging area? Okay, it was just the
What was
staging.
it?
It was the
Sorry.
staging area for the trail, so it was
Oh,
the
I see.
parking lot and then a staging
But
area.
but there was a parking lot built in the Apricot Park.
Correct,
Right,
yes,
which
which
is
was
right up
not
at
in
the
the
top,
plan.
yeah.
And that has 2 more parking spaces than was planned. And then this development would extend that further, provide more parking, as well as a trailhead
Well-
to the trail in the future.
Yeah, I like to always put my thoughts out so people can know what they are. I'm not hiding anything. I think I have a couple of items I want to talk about. Number one is, I think, in my opinion, that is a natural a spot to belong to the city. And the reason I say that is which side of the river it's on. It's that simple. The river is the natural boundary, in my opinion. It is not enormous reach forever. It's right there in front of us, okay? In other words, it's adjacent to the city, it's in the sphere of influence. I think it's a natural spot. However, I am very concerned that we have all kinds of things hanging fire. We've got the growth management plan hanging fire. We've got what I wanted to see, which was an inclusionary housing hanging fire. Although, if this did turn out to be duets or duplexes or whatever, it could be exempt from both of those, depending on how we write them. But we don't even have the draft in front of us, and we haven't even done the park thing because we kind of sent that away until we see the budget to decide whether or not we're going to demand 5 acres per 1,000 people or 3 or 7 acres per 1,000 people. And so it would be my preference, and I'm not moving so until we hear from some other people, but it would be my preference that we bring this back at a date certain, like the last meeting in June, when we have at least some firmed up drafts, we have some kind of an idea where we're going with our residential control plans before we say to somebody, well, yeah, sure, we'll zone this residential and away we go. Although I am in general in support of higher density residential other than single family homes. I would like to see it. But I also would like to see all these plans that we have hanging fire finally get some time to catch them up to what we want to do. That's my statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sendes?
That's a great statement, and I can't remember my exact position on this item. But I'm reading here that we didn't take an action or died due to lack of motion. But I think, if I can remember correctly, that we had said it may be a good project. We're not saying that it's not. We know that we need higher density homes. We need more affordable options for our community. If I'm remembering correctly, I would imagine that I said right now is just not a good time. So I like what the vice mayor is saying as far as, I forgot the term that he used, but anyway, I agree with that. I do agree that there's a necessity for this type of project. I just don't think right now is the good time, and I think that was my position then. If this is a question for the council, this item keeps coming back, obviously, but what do we need to do to ensure that it doesn't come back until we determine the time is right for it to come back?
This, did you want to explain that, or I can explain it?
You can take a shot at it, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, well, basically, if a vote is in the negative tonight, it does not come back unless one of the council members that voted against it requests for it to come back and be placed on the agenda as an item to have discussion. So it doesn't mean it's forever gone, it just means till there's a different sense of movement towards one way or the other. That's the simplest way to.
And 1 year. Or 1 year.
I think
Or
it was
1 year.
Or 1 year. I thought it was 2. No?
Well, I could double check on
I
that
thought we
for
had
you,
a
Mr. Mayor.
2-year deal. If you can check on that,
I'll
it'd be
double
helpful.
check for you, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm honestly more comfortable with, I'm sorry.
No,
Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
I'm honestly more comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable waiting till June. I'd want to put it out as long as we could because we have so many things going on as far as the general plan, the master parks plan, all that stuff. I'd want to put it out as long as we can, but right now is just not a good time.
Okay, Councilmember Lenore.
Well, I think you guys know sometimes where I'm leaning, but I understand what Marty's saying. We have a lot of irons in the fire, and but I got to tell you, this parcel so meets the intent of pre-zoning annexation. It meets the general plan intent. It's infill to the 10th degree. It's going to provide not single-family dwelling. It's compatible with the zoning that's all the way around it. To me, it doesn't seem to have any circulation problems. I just don't know that I can support the denial of, we don't have an inclusionary housing ordinance yet. I don't even know if you can make that a finding for denial. I'm just not sure. Seem to have findings for denial. Are we going to be prepared to deny any pre-zoning annexation that comes to us while we're preparing our general plan? You have to make things clear to people because they're meeting the general plan and the zoning and the uses that are surrounding it. So if we say no to this one, you're going to have to say no to all of them, and I just don't like that for planning. I don't think that moratorium on building, because we don't have inclusionary housing, is adequate for growth management. I really don't. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Here's my, I can make a couple comments. Several years back, I can remember us here having a conversation about how we did not have a park in that area and what could we do to have a park in that area, because all those residents, the closest thing they had was going to R.O. Hardin. We even had a conversation of using some of the city property, turning it into a park to allow for residents in that area to have something. So here's the conversation. Here's the problem. We are talking about a nice, beautiful park across the river and a nice, beautiful bridge to get there. What if the beautiful park doesn't happen, first? What if the beautiful bridge never happens? Second, we still don't have a large park in that area. It was a mistake that we made in the past, for whatever reason, grants or didn't come through. But I think at this point, we need to be looking at this as this is a parcel that has potential of becoming that large park in the area. If in a few years we get a bridge and we get the nice park and all these things are happening, then we can have a different conversation. But let's look at it as it is right now. There is no place for families to go spend time in a large area. There is a kids park there, yes, and that's great. But there's no large field there for people to go play, have a game of football or soccer out there. There just isn't. And we have to look at the reality of today, not some hope of this mega park that we're looking at down the road, but of today and tomorrow for those residents to live there. I don't think our strategy should be to, again, just build on any piece of land there is to try to solve a problem. It's really not going to solve a problem yet. We have to have a better strategy. I've said this many a times, but I think at this point we're better off continuing down the path we've been on and looking at this as viewing this as an area for a potential park rather than just more condos or more housing. Vice Mayor Richmond?
Oh, thank you. I don't think I said anything about denying anything. I know it's just a choice of words. What I said is I would like to put this off. I think the mayor made a point. I'm not sure I agree with 100%. We don't always agree here. Maybe we never agree here. But the important point is I would like to see other stuff firmed up. I think it's very difficult. We just did a master plan on the parks. And we didn't, when we were doing the master plan, we didn't say, oh, well, what happens if it all blows up? That's why I asked for the budget to come back. I want to see what we'll be able to do. I think the right answer on this, and I'm prepared to not get any support, but that's okay. You got to lose sometimes, but you got to say what you believe. I'm prepared to make a motion that we bring this back a date certain in the last meeting in June of this year, whatever date the last meeting in June is of this year. and see where we are on these critical items that we've all got questions about. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, we haven't even really decided what we're gonna do about impact fees, because we got the park thing hanging. We seem to go from we only have 2 acres apiece to 4 acres apiece to 5 acres to 7 acres. That's not to make fun of it. It's just what's realistic. We can pick any number we want. Again, I think it's a space that truly belongs in the city. Like every other space, we'd have to look at it in total of what's going on. We might know a lot more about what's going on when we see what we can put together in 3 months. We can't just keep doing things while we wait for the time and the effort to get our planning documents straightened out. That's my opinion. And like I said, I'm prepared to lose, but I'll make the motion that we bring this proposal back on the last meeting date in June. After all, we're going to be gone in July, if I remember correctly. So there it is. Thank you.
Do we have any other comments? Councilmember Lenore?
Just want to clarify that, Mayor, you'd like to see a park there, but, I mean, you do realize it's private property.
I do.
So the city would be purchasing it from the owner to develop a park on there? I don't know that we have the funding to purchase the property and develop a park, but it's not ours for the taking.
No, I understand.
All right.
Okay. Do we have any speaker cards?
I think so. Roger Grimsley?
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, Roger Grimsley, and I'm speaking on behalf of my brother. He's owned the property for about 25 years, and I recognize that and he's getting older just like I am, and he wants to develop it so he can get a rate of return for his long-held investment. This is a classical example of your infill. It's right at the end. There's no more property that's going to go beyond that. And originally, I think when I met with the staff, we were agreeable to facilitate some parking for your linear park that's going to go around, that's going to fit in with the overall San Benito County linear park that goes all the way from Mulatto Park to San Juan. And that's going to be a long period. What I'm really worried is that if we deny the thing and I don't get the ability and my brother to come back for 1 or 2 years at your expense because you don't have your ducks in the order, then I feel like we're being held hostage. So I would encourage, and the motion was to say a date certain where we know we can come back and then give you the chance to get everything organized for your open space as well as your park. And we're willing to work with the city. I know I've met with the staff several times, and we're willing to go with duets and use more high density so that it's more affordable in housing, not just the R1. So I would encourage that if you want to delay it to a date certain so that we have the ability to come back. If we deny it tonight, then it's going to be, you can't entertain it for at least a year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any speakers?
There are no more speakers.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from council? Is there a motion?
That's my motion. My motion is to bring this back, the date certain being the last meeting date in June of this year.
Okay, there's a
and for reconsideration. We'll see where we're at.
There's a motion to move to a date certain, the last meeting of June. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Against?
No.
No. 3-2. Come back in.
Do we have a date yet?
Thank you.
Whatever date the last one is.
It's just so we can put on the record, what is that date?
June 24th.
June 24th.
That'll be near the end of June.
So it'll be the special meeting or
Good point, Madam Clerk. The third meeting of June would be June 17th, that special court or I'm sorry, the regular second meeting of June is June 17th. The special meeting in June would be June 24th.
June 24th meeting.
So if you want it on that special meeting date or on the regular meeting, it's up to you. Doesn't matter.
June 17th, there. Is
Okay,
that
June
the second one? It's
17th.
fine. Okay.
I'm
All
okay
right.
with that. 17th,
17th it is.
right?
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move to item G1, reports from city council members regarding their committees. Councilmember Lenore?
Okay, committees.
You got it.
Okay. So, since we last spoke, I'm just gonna confirm that. The only committee I did, attend was the, Area Aging Agency. Have a couple of information for the folks. I hope people on the public TV will hear me. Next month is Older Americans Month, May 2019, the Older Americans Month. So the agency asked if we could get a city proclamation for the Older Americans Month, and their message this year is connect, create, contribute, connect with friends, family, and services that support participation, create thorough activities that promote health and personal enrichment, and contribute time, talent, and life experience to benefit others. So if we could do a proclamation on that, then my committee would be very appreciative. Another really good thing that I ran across that while I was at the meeting was that Social Security, SSI, and SSP, which I'm not familiar with. Does anybody know SSP? Anyway, Social Security recipients will be eligible for CalFresh in the summer of 2019. So in the summer of 2019, the cash out policy that bans Social Security recipients from receiving CalFresh food stamps will end. This is a very important thing. SSI and SSP benefits will not be reduced or eliminated as a result of the ending the cash out. So please, get a hold of your Social Security office. They, like most Social Security recipients, individuals, and SSI couples, will be newly eligible for CalFresh summer. These are people that qualify under income for these types of programs. All right, this is very good. They will need to apply over the phone, in person, or online. Our office for San Benito County is in Gilroy on First Street. So I really hope that the seniors and the seniors on Social Security or disability will go and see if they're eligible for CalFresh. This is a good thing, a very good thing. We have too many seniors that don't have enough money for food. The last thing is the Area and Long-Term Care Commission of San Benito County, which works with the Board of Supervisors. They would like to establish a multi-purpose senior services program. And what that program is it's allowing the elders to stay in their home with proper care instead of going to the skilled nursing facility. It takes a lot of money. Their tax dollars and the Medicare income can be transferred over to the multi-purpose senior services program to help them live in their home longer. You know, that's what they want. I think we should help them with that. Here's one statistic I did want to read to you, and that's that California is set to see a rapid increase in older adults when 70% of the state's population will be over the age of 65. There's estimated that 4.5 million unpaid family members are the largest long-term workforce caring for older and disabled adults. The family members provide an estimated $58 billion in long-term services. So the state needs to expand support to family caregivers so adults requiring assistance can remain in the community where they live, and family caregivers can get the services they need to work, care, and thrive. So again, we want to see if we can help the county establish this, because we don't have one. This would be a boon for our seniors. There's a lot of things I could tell you about. I'm hoping to get better at it, to bring even more. There's legislation that I've been asked to see if we can endorse. I didn't have enough time. There's several bills, but I did promise them that I would look at them and present them to the council so that we could see what we could endorse for the seniors on the rules that are trying to get passed now. They're trying to get some additional funding for the multi-senior purpose, a supplemental budget appropriation. So again, I really am glad I'm on there. You know, it's sad. to think that seniors are isolated and lonely. That's not right. So even if we're not related to them, we need to help them. And I really love the senior citizens. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Spencer?
I only had one meeting with the Monterey Bay Air Resource District. We talked about my favorite subject, roundabouts, which are not my favorite things. However, I did learn that for every roundabout, depending on the size, it cuts the emissions by 30% or more, depending on the size of the roundabout. So therefore, I guess I like them. I'll get used to them as long as I don't get lost in them. But that's about all I had.
Okay, Vice Mayor Richmond?
Actually, Councilmember Spencer was good enough to accompany me to the EDC meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she forgot about that. And but before I get into that, I do really want to thank Councilmember Lenore for that terrific report on the aging issues. I'm very personally familiar with aging issues. I wish I wasn't, but I want. I think many of the aged in our community don't know the details of all these programs that are available to them, and I really appreciate.
Bring more info
I
on that.
appreciate you do, and we should figure out a good way to communicate. And I still think one of the best ways is the water and sewer bill, because it goes into everybody's home, even if you're on auto pay, it goes into your home. Even though I keep picking paperless, it doesn't matter. It keeps coming to my house. So people are reading it, and I do read it, and it would be really nice to get these inserts in there. So anyway, the EDC, we did have a meeting in the EDC, and Council Member Spencer is the new member of the ad hoc committee, and I am, and we discussed the EDC, the same things we always discuss, which is getting more jobs into the San Benito County and the area of Hollister, and especially, believe it or not, some of the best paying jobs in the region are service jobs. When I say service jobs, everybody thinks of fast food or stocking the shelves, but the truth of the matter is service jobs include healthcare jobs. They include a lot of jobs in the financial industry. They include education jobs and all kinds of jobs that are some of the best paying jobs in California. Only 3 counties in all of California make more money in manufacturing than service, and those are 3 actually small counties. They're Glenn and Merced and one other. They're not the giants. The giant economic counties in California are 72% service is what they generate in their GDP, believe it or not. So we talked about that, and they are putting together a program, and they will be showing up sooner or later here and asking for financial support. We talked about how it's a long-run program. You have to look down the road. And they did ask, and they will ask the council as a whole, and I did not speak for the council, only for myself personally, whether or not they want to be on the board of directors of the EDC. And at that time, I'll express how I feel about that. The other one I went to, and I was joined by the mayor, which is the COG, the Council of Government, your local transportation authority, and we talked at issue about the same thing, roundabout. How about that? Imagine that. We don't do anything but talk about roundabout. And we made it clear to the members of Caltrans that what we really want is the money. Okay, no sense beating around the bush. If it's the fact that the roundabout's going to cost $10 million or more, and is only going to be good until we put the new Highway 25 in. We would prefer that they do something cheaper and give us the difference in the money. They said they'd look at it. Their problem, let's be honest, their problem is they're worried about getting sued because it's a very dangerous intersection. We talked about that at some length. The other issue that it's really important to know for the public is that the COG is putting together the oversight committee for Measure G. And they're putting together the applications at this time, and they'll shortly be sending them out. And they'll be asking for people who want to join that oversight committee to comply with the Measure G process, which includes going over the financial audit, giving recommendations, making sure the money's being spent as it was promised, and prioritization, and a whole bunch of things that will be in the document that forms the committee. I hope that many of you in the public will apply to be on that committee. I think it's very important that we have public oversight, and oversight that does its job. I think that's very important. There's no nitpicking, and you don't get to make the decisions, but you get to say, the measure said we were going to do this, and we either did it or we didn't do it. So you get to hold our nose to the grindstone. And those are basically my committee reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Resendez?
All right, I got quite a few to report on. Tel Center and the park. It kind of ties into my intergovernmental report, but I'll go over it really quick. We're looking into touring CSUMB soon to check out their Tel Center. And then the park, I believe we need to set up another meeting to talk about that. Animal control. Last time I was here, I had reported out to the public that we set up a date that weekend to meet. Unfortunately, want to report that it was a bit disappointing that we couldn't collaborate and get us an actual time for it. It just seemed like the whole process took entirely too long. It was a bit of a frustrating process, but I'm happy to report we finally worked through that, and we have a date on the calendar, so probably by the next time I see you guys, I can report back to you on where we're at with touring the animal shelter. The motorcycle event, I had a lengthy conversation with the promoter, Randy Burke. He has been traveling all over the nation to several events and essentially gathering support from the vendors to have them buy into coming back to Hollister and putting on a successful event. He was supposed to speak to the city manager, which I assume that he did, to talk about a contract. I would also like to ask the city manager to look into different options. I talked to the promoter about this, what we can do as far as the workman comp issues. He gave me a general idea about what other cities are doing, but if we can just really look into that so we can have move forward with a successful event. Intergovernmental, a lot of things going on there. Very first thing we had was I guess it was like a mission or vision session. We had the superintendent from the high school come and give a pretty good report about essentially looking forward on what the development that the city is going through now, what kind of impact that's going to have on our schools. He feels like they need to have a seat at the table now rather than be kind of like an afterthought, so to speak, if that makes sense. I really liked that part of the meeting. So I asked him what are other cities doing as far as handling that, and he said that there's some really great models out there. He's going to bring that back to us. So I'll be happy to report that to you guys at the next meeting. Again, we spoke about the Tel Center and the park. We're going to tour the CSUMB pretty soon, and I think the whole entire intergovernmental committee is going to do that. I put on a request, as requested by the vice mayor, to agendize the emergency preparedness, basically an update. So I wanted to let you know that we did that, and I received the agenda this morning or afternoon, and it's on there. We are going to look into, I was curious about this. I have a lot of constituents reaching out to me. It seems to be a pretty hot topic. And since we have the partners there, I thought this was a good place to talk about it. The drop-off and pickup of the schools and the traffic situation. I think they were going to reach out to you to see if you were able to attend that meeting, and that way you can be included in the conversation as well. Code of ethics, last one. I'm been emailing and speaking to my colleague, the vice mayor, about how to make things a little bit more efficient and a little bit more ethical. So we're working on it. I don't have much to report to you now, but I promise by the next meeting I will. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to add on to Vice Mayor Richmond's report on COG, one of the items that was discussed, there's going to be work on the curve correction on Airline Highway. What's happening is people are traveling at a higher rate of speed. It wasn't designed, the curve was not designed for that. So Caltrans will be doing a curve correction to make it safer. Part of that program is also going to be to install a left turn dedicated light at Meridian and Airline. So it's part of the overall plan of the improvements. Now, we also talked about the weed abatement along that area and how we can work together and maybe even take over some of the responsibilities with some type of partnership with Caltrans. So that's going to be coming pretty soon if you haven't received any information on that, City Manager. Just wanted to let you know about that. My other big meeting was with the Mobility Partnership. That's our partnership with Santa Clara County to discuss Highway 25, 152, the new interchange at the 101. And we're making good progress. What we did there at this meeting was select a new chair. That is Morgan Hills Councilmember Mr. Carr is the new chair, and I'm now the vice chair of the committee. So we're working on, we're moving closer to the studies for that new interchange on 101-25. And again, VTA, Caltrans, they're moving on this very quickly to get this thing done. And they're still looking at a timeline of 2022 for completion. So we're moving on that. Believe it or not, the high-speed rail is actually still on the books and moving along pretty quick. I know a lot of us heard that it was dead. The truth is, behind the scenes, in public, one thing is said, behind the scenes, a whole other thing is happening. The planning is still going through. Its first phase is from Bakersfield to Merced or Modesto now. They're still planning the leg from San Francisco to Gilroy. They're still looking for the route through Pacheco Pass, and it looks like there's a 11-mile tunnel that's being planned for that area. So high-speed rail is still alive. So if anybody tells you it's dead, it's not. Whether you think it should be or not, that's a different conversation. Just want to let you all know it's still a conversation. Money's still being spent. And that would be my, well, as Council Member or Vice Mayor Richmond pointed out, the discussion about the roundabout, no matter how much we try, Caltrans seems pretty insistent on building it. They're going to be holding a town hall meeting, I think summertime, was that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, to discuss it, and we'll take it from there. And that is all of my updates for my committees. We'll move to informational reports from council members. Councilmember Lenore?
Okay, so for informational reports, I wanted to say that on Monday, March 25th, I met with Mary Paxton. We went up to Park Hill. We were trying to identify the parking that maybe could exist over there, but we did answer Mrs. Pollard's question. There is not going to be any parking on the North Street extension for the pathway that goes to Park Hill. It's just dangerous. There's an incline there. It just would not be a good idea. There is going to be some parking on Fern Way, I think it's called. And then, of course, there's plenty of parking at Park Hill. Once you get up there and everything's done, you can park at that end and walk. The residents are encouraged to walk to the trail. You know, it's all pretty good. But there won't be any parking on North Street Extension. So we were happy to let her know that. And she was appreciative of it, even though it wasn't exactly the answer she wanted. On Tuesday, March 26th, we had the second flavored tobacco meeting with the youth. We're moving right along. We're proposing if you don't mind, we're proposing a meeting at the Vets Building for the retailers, but not just the retailers, anybody. It'll be widely publicized to come and give us your thoughts on flavored tobacco sales. And we're going to probably limit it somewhat, but we certainly got to hear from both sides. I'm always a both sides person. So that's coming up. After we do that meeting, then we'll meet again with the youth, and we're making progress. So that's always good. And then I want to close with one last thing. It's not a happy thing, but I certainly didn't appreciate the freelance editorial on Mr. Avera. I gotta tell you, that was disgusting. It was not necessary, it's also not true, and it was mean-spirited. I'll tell you what, when you talk about Bill Avera, the words deceptive, derelict, and insubordinate do not come to mind. And how can I say this? Because not only did I work with him for 20 years, I worked for him for 6 years. So I think I would know if he was dishonest and if he was derelict, he was insubordinate. I did not appreciate those mean-spirited words. I didn't like it for his wife and his daughter, and I certainly don't like it for all of the friends that he has. I know that my husband was very upset. My sister called the freelance today. This is not the way we treat honest people. I don't know who you're talking to, but give me a call. Please. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Spencer?
Well, first of all, let me just say, I don't
Wasn't
read the
good.
freelance, and that's probably why.
It wasn't good.
Now I'm curious.
Oh, you won't like it. I'm glad your mom and dad aren't alive to read that.
Well, I totally lost where I was going now. I did, Growing Hearts, they had a, event, God, I can't even think what, it was last week. If the community can, please go visit this, new upcoming, organization. They are, hiring nothing but special ed kids, which are amazing. I love, Adam, I love Mason, I love all these kids. Their plants are beautiful, and they are just a great organization. So if you get a chance, go visit, Growing Hearts.
Where do we go? Where is it? Local, out of town?
No, it's local, it's right here in town.
Downtown, or could you let me know?
I'll
'Cause I
let
wanna
you know.
do something.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know. I'll let you know. I can't think right now.
It didn't say in the article either, so. All right. Let me know, because
I
I
will.
wanna do something.
Okay.
Sorry,
Said
guys,
it?
my head hurts.
That's okay. All of our heads hurt. That's why we come to our meetings. Okay, Vice Mayor Richmond.
Did they really say all that about you, Bill?
It was
I didn't read
terrible.
it.
They said the only good thing was him leaving.
Yeah.
That was the last sentence.
Hang on. Councilmember.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Having been on both sides of that issue about being in the media, I understand how it is. You say what you think, and you're not always accurate. I didn't even know the freelance was still here. Seriously. Anyway, I'd like to make some comments about something happening earlier here, which was our early presentation of proclamation of the National Crime Victims' Rights Week and the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes proclamation. And in many cases, in too many cases in America, those happen to be related. I'm no choir boy, okay, and I never was. But I just never understood it, okay? I don't understand the idea that because someone doesn't like you, you have the right to bash them in the head, or because someone doesn't want to be your boyfriend or girlfriend. And let me tell you something, men are often abused by their partners, whether it be a man partner or a woman partner. Not as often as women, but they are abused. I don't understand it. Slavery is dead in America, folks. I say this for the public's view. Grow up, okay? If somebody doesn't want to be your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your best friend, that's just the way it is. And you don't have the right to beat them up or attack them or hurt them or make them victims because of that. I think it's one of the most disgusting problems that we have in this nation. I simply don't understand it. Maybe I grew up in a house where there was no violence, except my mother used to spank me with a shoe. Other than that, there was no violence. And that was only minor violence. She never really hurt me. So I want to say, you don't have to be a victim. If you're having a problem, go see your local police department. File that report. Go see your local justice center and go file that report. and don't be a perpetrator. Don't be a perpetrator. Grow up. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Sendes.
All right. Today, I forgot, but I just did it today. I shared the post about the general plan on social media for Councilwoman Lenore had requested. So I wanted to make sure that I reported back to you that that was taken care of. I forget what day, but it was after the intergovernmental meeting. I walked on over with my child to attend the science fair put on by the schools, which was good. It was good. There was a lot of people in attendance, and they had some different booths set around where it was very interactive for the kids to stay busy and do lots of cool projects, which my daughter had a great time. So thank you to anyone who put that on. I want to talk about a little bit about the Moonlight Walk over at the De Anza Trail that Reach put on. This is the second year that they put it on, and it's the second year that I attended. You get like a little button, which was really cool. I meant to bring it, and I think I brought it. I just left it in the car. I was going to show it off here. But really great event, family friendly. I'd love to see more stuff like that supported in our community. And I wanted to point out that afterwards, since we were in San Juan, we were hungry, went out to go eat. And I think the whole restaurant was filled with people that were in attendance to that. So that's just another thing to consider, that when you put on local events like that, it's going to boost the local economy. And we're happy to do that and to support local business owners. So I just wanted to point that out. Again, this past Sunday, I attended the Arts and Crafts Festival in San Juan. I seen lots of Hollister residents. I ran into a cousin from San Jose, coincidentally. So and again, the restaurants were filled. There was nowhere to sit. It was a really successful event. And I bring that up because I would like to request that we get a report back from Recreation. I'm not sure if it's Tina, for a couple of things. Number one, I thought that the event she put on over here downtown, the Street Sweets, I think it was called, was a really successful, family-friended, oriented one. And all of the events that are put on downtown and they have multiple effects. People want to get out and they want to do things in their community, and they want to invest in their community. They want to connect with one another. I'd love to see us do more of that. And it does support local businesses and the economic development here. So two things that I'm asking for. If we can have Tina come back at the next meeting or close to and report on if there's a way that we can go out and see if we can get either more festivals or more events in the evening geared towards families. I'd really appreciate that. The other thing is I've been involved in this in the past on my own, and I want to know where we're at with the summer lunch program, if we're going to be offering the free summer lunch program. Since we're going to have Tina here anyway, I want to make sure that we have enough food for our children in the summer and a variety of recreational opportunities for them at little to no cost, if possible. So if she can come back and report on those two things for me, I'd really appreciate that. And last, but certainly most not least, a friend of mine, his name is Robert Allen Baker, AKA also known as Rob Monolith. He is a super sweet, super talented local artist here from our community. Was diagnosed with renal cancer, and he passed away, unfortunately, very rapidly. I was lucky enough to attend one of the two memorial services, and I just can't even share with you all of the great memories that were shared with all of his family and friends. He was an avid guitarist here within our local community. He loved to attend the Renaissance Fair, and those are just a couple of things he was really known for. I'm hoping, if it pleases the council, if we can just honor his memory and we can adjourn the meeting tonight in his memory. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, and absolutely we will. Wanted to, again, remind everybody, Saturday, April 13th, Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. It's a great event. I encourage all the men out there and their sons to come out, or even their daughters to come out. It's a good learning lesson for all of us, as the Vice Mayor pointed out. It needs to stop already. City Manager, a while back I had requested an item be put on as far as some funding for Jóvenes de Antaño. I found that I thought we had budgeted that in our budget in the past, and it turns out we do not have an item in there directly. And I'm glad Councilman Lenore is on that committee for seniors. We found out several years back that we weren't taking care of some paperwork. We almost lost that funding. And without Jóvenes de Antaño, we'd be in big trouble here in our community. Okay.
But I also, I'll get you the breakdown, but we've been very successful with providing them funding through CDBG.
Right.
They've always been part of so they've been getting about 100 and, do you know what it is, like 110, 120? They've been doing pretty well over the last couple of years, but I'll bring you a breakdown of how that works.
Yeah, so we can just have that
Yeah.
and make sure
Sure.
we're covering it.
Yeah. No, we usually don't leave them hanging. So.
Yeah, no, they're so important. Great story with that. My mother-in-law is living with us right now, and finally encouraged her to go out to the rec center and go play some bingo and have lunch out there. And she absolutely loves it. And couldn't thank Pauline and the staff enough, and she looks forward to going now for some of the other programs they have for our seniors. So it's a very important part of our community. So I want to make sure we don't lose sight of that. The other item I asked in the past to be put onto the agenda was taking our funding from the VLF fees and moving to the road.
Yeah, so Brett and I were talking about that last week. We'll have it ready for you
Okay.
on the 15th.
Okay, so we had a good discussion on that. Also, I was contacted by some of the cannabis owners. I know Mr. Richmond and Carol did the tour. I have not yet, and I don't think Honor, have you done it? You haven't done either.
I did the tour of 1802.
I think Roland has either. So I just wanted to let you know they have reached out, and I do want to do that before we have those conversations. I think they're coming up pretty soon. I just want to let you know, I don't know, if we go three of us, then we have an issue as far as the Brown Act, but just so you know.
Yeah, so what I can do is I'll get with Councilman Resendez and you. I know that he has trouble getting there before 3, so we'll try to set something up around 4, and you let me know when you're back in town, and we'll go ahead and
Just so you
we'll
know
do that.
what's going
Yeah.
on, and they've sent emails back and forth. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. H, I, J, and K, there's no business, and tonight if we can adjourn, your motion, sir?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we can adjourn in the memory of Rob Allen Baker.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank
Council
you.
members don't leave yet. We have another meeting of the Joint Powers Finance Authority. At this time, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 8:45, April 1st, 2019. Roll call, please.
Board Member Resendez,
Present.
Board Member Richmond.
Present.
Chair Velasquez.
Here.
Board Member Spencer.
Here.
Board Member Lenore.
Present.
Executive Director Avera.
Here.
Agency Attorney Epperson.
Present.
Oh, hold on. The special agenda for the Joint Powers Financing Authority of the City of Hollister meeting of April 1st, 2019 was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on March 27, 2019 at 6:28 p.m. per Government Code Section 54956.
Thank you very much. We'll move to item 1.
Yeah, it's about an hour presentation.
Okay.
Or no?
We'll see you
joke?
later.
Okay. So,
We're ready.
for the Finance Authority, this is the same thing. We have to adopt the debt management policy, so it's the same thing as I said
Alright.
for the city.
Hopefully it's
Or
the
if you have
same
any questions.
policy.
Some name changes, that's all.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions from council? Do we have any
That's it.
speaker cards?
There are no speakers.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2019-01FA, a resolution of the Governing Board of Hollister Joint Powers Financing Authority adopting the debt management policy.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you very much, and have a good
Right.
evening.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Are you going to be around tomorrow?
Thank
You want
you.
me to sign that letter?
No, you're on board. I'll be-